Looks like maybe some work has started. Got some new power cords run up here. We ran our boat aground while visiting Savannah, Georgia. Now we're on the hard at Hinckley Yacht Service in Thunderbolt, Georgia, waiting for repairs to be completed. Well, I got in. They have started work. It smells like fiberglass grinding, which is the smell I wanted to smell. That is a good thing. I don't know how much we can see here, but it looks like they've sanded some of that off right there and a lot of this off right here. I can't tell you how happy I am to finally see work starting. Maybe we'll get out of here in a few weeks. Who knows? And I'm so happy to say that today is the first day that we've actually found work going on the boat. They're doing some grinding and sanding down there, getting at the inside fiberglass to repair it. They'll fix the fiberglass on the inside. Then when that's done, they'll go to the outside hull of the boat and fix that fiberglass. So fix it from the inside, then come in from the outside, grind it back, and repair it from the outside.
Welcome back to Sailing Out of Sight. I'm Diane. This is Craig. And this is our pirate pup, Bonnie. Learning as we go, we invite you to follow along in our search for blue water.
We grounded the boat, and there are some questions that you may have that we've thought about that we'd like to try to explain what happened and kind of how it happened.
And just so you know, we're not totally inept. It just seems that way. So we are learning.
We may be inept.
How did the grounding happen?
We were anchored in an anchorage called the Herb River Anchorage. It's just off the Wilmington River between Sylvan Island and Dutch Island. It's a marked anchorage. Where we were anchored was probably 12 to 18 feet average depth, and the width was about 400 feet, which would give us, if you're anchored in the center, that would give you 200 foot of swing room. Well, we had 100 foot of all chain roller out, and so we should have been fine.
We'd been anchored there for 5 days and had no problem.
Then on, I think it was the 6th evening, we were sitting there watching the sunset. The sun had just
It had been a beautiful day.
And then some thunderstorms rolled in. We didn't get much rain. The wind started picking up. Probably, wind off a thunderstorm, probably 20 knots, something like that.
Yeah, just thunderstorm.
Not a big deal. And then all of a sudden, we got some strong gusts of wind, probably at least 40, maybe 50 knots of wind. It hit us. It heeled the boat way over, and then the boat swung around almost 90 degrees to the tide flow.
Our boat, of course, was facing into the outgoing tide, and like this. And the wind came and hit us on the side, and when it did, I was down below, and I had to grab onto stuff because it wasn't a 90 degree by any means, but it was a hard enough hit and push hitting us on our side, on our beam, that I was falling over. I had to start grabbing hold of stuff to not completely fall down. It was big. It was intense. This quick.
Well, at one point, I wasn't sure a tornado wasn't setting down on us. And we have some experience in tornadoes, so we kind of know what a tornado feels like and what it sounds like when it's coming in. It was a very strong wind, heeled us over, blew us around about 90 degrees to the tide flow and towards the bank, obviously. When the wind stopped and the boat stood back up, we were on ground. Slung us into the side of the bank, and the tide's going out, so we're grounded. Obviously, the next thing is, did the anchor break? At first, I thought, well, the anchor must have drugged, but after it was all over with, I doubt that the anchor drugged. I think what happened was, when you originally set the anchor, then you go through a tide swing this way, then you swing this way, then you swing this way, then you swing this way. I think over the period of days that our anchor changed position, and I was just not aware of it.
You mean like it kind of walked every time? Not drag, but it just kind of walks a little bit?
Yeah, and I think that unknowingly, the anchor moved closer to shore than what I realized. As it moved closer to shore, all of a sudden, you're closer to shore. Now 100 foot of road is too much road.
It's so long, it's comically long.
It was just not being aware of where your anchor is at.
Right.
We knew where it was at when we set the anchor, but we didn't know for certain where it was at when the grounding happened.
Yeah.
You anchored, you grounded, now what do?
Cry? No.
The two options are, you either wait for the tide to come back up, or you call for a tow. How did we make the decision?
The helm wheel was going, you couldn't move the rudder. So
That's number one.
So if
The rudder was stuck in the mud, so we couldn't steer.
So if you started the motor, and if the rudder was in the wrong direction and you got the boat to moving, you could actually make yourself go further up on shore rather than backing off.
So you can't steer. When you start the engine, you can't steer. So if you can't steer and you go forward or backwards, you could just be making things worse, and probably would be making things more stuck. The other risk you have is if you start the motor up in that shallow like that, you risk sucking up a lot of mud and stuff into the cooling system.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So starting the engine's not a great idea. You can't steer. So you're not coming off the ground anytime soon. The easiest thing to do might have been to wait for a tide cycle. Remember, all the time the tide's dropping at a foot an hour. If you wait for the tide cycle, we really don't know where we're at on that shoreline and what the bottom looks like. So if you wait for the tide to continue the drop and the boat keeps heeling, how far over is the boat going to heel? That's what you don't know. If the boat heels over and you take far enough, depending on what the bottom looks like, then you run the risk of taking salt water into the boat, and salt water coming into the boat would be very expensive. Because if you take water on, you don't know how much water you're going to take on. It's at least going to get into some of the electrical. Are you going to take on enough water that it maybe gets on the engine or the generator? The wood, the upholstery, not knowing how much water you're going to take on, you don't know how bad the damage could be. And if you get salt water in your electrical system or on your motor, now you've got a problem that could not be so bad, it could be really bad. While calling for a towboat's not cheap, the cost is more well understood than the unknown of letting the boat go ahead and just heel over. We decided to call towboat. What caused the damage? Okay, what caused the damage? The ground?
The ground, the mud. When the towboat first started pulling us, we were at just the normal, what we had heeled over because of the tide swing. So I'm like this, and we're not going anywhere. It's just, it's just stuck. We're just like glued to the. So he started moving the towboat at a different angle out here to start pulling us this way. We're sitting there, I'm going, because we're heeling over even more, and then all of a sudden there was a snap, pop, and I said, that can't be good. And then about that time we righted up, and there we went.
The damages were caused 100% by being towed off of the ground. It's not the towboat's fault. Towboat's job is to get us ungrounded. They tried to pull us straight ahead. with all 600 horsepower engines that he had on there, he couldn't budge us going straight forward, which tells me we would have never motored off that anyway. But he tried, and it wouldn't go. So what he ended up having to do was pull at different angles, anywhere from about 45 to 90 degrees, trying to work us off of the bank. Just when we thought that we weren't coming off, because it seemed like he was making no headway.
No headway.
The boat pivoted. That's when we heard the pop. About the same time, we started moving forward and slid off of the ground. And it was more than a pop. It was, you knew it was fiberglass breaking. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no doubt that it was fiberglass breaking right there.
It was a very loud, like when you, it started out like when you're squeezing all that bubble wrap and it's going, but it's louder than that. It'd be like industrial bubble wrap. You're hearing all this, and then all of a sudden it was a balloon pop.
It's a lot of bubble wrap.
I don't know.
Don't make fun of me.
I have no clue what industrial bubble wrap is. So what we found after we pulled out was the fiberglass breakage on the skeg was on the port side. But stress cracks here, you see it there. And actually all the way up around here. Which makes complete sense because he's pulling us in the boats trying to turn this way. The rudder's stuck in the mud. Looks like we were in mud this deep. So as you try to turn this way, that puts all the force going against the port side of the skeg and rudder. And that's exactly the side that the fiberglass broke on. We could have waited for a complete tide cycle, and you may have gotten free.
Yes,
And you may not have gotten free.
yes.
We have a broken boat, and we're getting pulled out. On the positive side of what happened, fixing these issues allowed us the chance to identify some other pre-existing conditions that we were able to get fixed. So it's not much of a plus, but it is a plus. One of the things that we found was we did a little bit of rudder damage, but in addressing the rudder damage that we did, we found some other rudder damage that was probably more severe than what we had, and allowed us to be able to fix that. There was some splitting in the rudder. Wow. This is surprising to me. I'm not sure if that's damage from this incident or if it's from something else. This is from our incident right here. I know this is. Some of this is old. I think some of it's old, some of it's a little bit of it's new. Some delamination in the skeg that we were able to fix. I don't think that's damage. I think that's imperfections. Yeah, this is right here is not damaged.
I cleaned these up, trying to get
Oh, yeah.
and everything. Put them back on bottom paint.
Some of the stuff I'm seeing that he found, I think that was already bad. I mean, before I don't think that had anything to do with getting pulled off the ground. That looks like that's been there a long time.
Time down deep.
Yeah.
Could have been. But it's better to find it down.
Yeah, I'm glad he's going so deep.
Yeah.
So that way we know.
Keep going until you don't see any more of it.
Pleased with what I'm seeing right now. I'm glad they're going back that deep into the fiberglass. We found corrosion on the rudder post that we were able to fix. And that corrosion was right where the rudder packing gland sits. That's not good. But this right here is where the rudder gland sits.
That was one of the first things had somebody put a new one in. We paid for them to do it. They didn't do it. They told us they did. So they got our money, but we didn't get the work.
So when we first hauled out after we bought the boat, repacking the rudder gland was one of the tasks that was on the work order. And we specifically asked them if it got done, and they said yes. But when we pulled the packing out, it had never been replaced. It probably wouldn't have mattered, but it's just kind of irritating to pay for something and get lied to about. Back at Hinkley's today, checking on the boat and see how the repairs are. I think this is my 65th trip to Hinkley's. Hey, John.
How are you doing this morning? Or this afternoon, whatever it is?
This afternoon. Did it, were you surprised by what you found?
A little bit, but not surprised, but not overly concerned. Nothing, not as bad as what I've seen in the house. But yeah, it was split pretty good here, and here. You can see that dark green underneath there.
Uh-huh.
That's a Pro Set epoxy, real super strong glue that I beat it out, got into there, and then injected that all the way around to glue it back together. And then the glass is just tapping over and sealing that tight. So this will get all sanded and a little bit more laid up on it, and then sanded again and cleaned up, faired and painted.
So it sounds like really there's two barriers there. One for water tightness.
Yeah.
You got the glue and then you got the fiberglass.
That glue, I mean, this glue is what I use a lot of times in place of glass to glue things together. But I still feel better with glass on it.
Could you tell, some of that looked like maybe there was some problems for a while.
Yes, some of it has been there for a while. It was exaggerated by the grounding and being pulled off.
Yeah.
But it was going on there for a while, and you could tell that's one of the reasons why it had so much rust and stuff built up inside of it when we drained all the holes, drilled the holes in it and drained all the water out of it.
I wondered if there was water in there.
There was water.
Because when they pulled it out, when we first bought the boat to do the bottom job, it looked like maybe there was water draining out of it the whole time it set on the hard.
Yeah. And then I drilled
I
additional
saw
holes here
I saw a couple holes there.
and got all that water out of there. Matter of fact, when I beat this out, I was looking at the inside of your stainless. I could see it.
Uh-huh.
So I injected a lot of glue all the way up in there to really glue that back real strong, and then obviously just blasting over it to smooth it out. It was a pretty significant crack right here. So I ground all that out, got back to good glass. Like I said, this is 2 layers here, 3 layers here. This all gets sanded, more laid up here, more laid up into here, more here. Let that dry, sand that, and then I'm gonna pull, once I get all that built up to where I want it, then I'm gonna use a couple layers of that 1.5 ounce mat and cover this whole area and reseal all this back up. I chased a lot of delamination between the top and the second layer. Not real deep, just somebody's done some work here.
That doesn't surprise me.
And what they done, I was It's like the inside, I wasn't overly impressed with the font and what goes. Inside wouldn't
That-
quite as bad.
That is thicker.
Yeah. It's a lot thicker, a lot stronger.
What do you think?
I think that was the thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, it probably would have survived otherwise, but it just eats the hell out of the packet.
It just keeps eating on it.
Yeah, and then you'd be back there, you know, every once in a while, just down here, that doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the final product. That's what you get. Cool. Well, last year until you're tired of this boat.
First time I've been down in the boat in a couple of days. It's gonna be hot in here. Yeah, first time I've been in here since they started fiberglassing. So there's the new repair job in the painting since they put the fiberglass in and reinforced these stringers here and refiberglassed around this area right here. Definitely making progress. The rudder post is complete. The skeg is completed and primed. It's only ready for bottom paint. The inside's done. Looks like all I've got is paint on the rudder and bottom paint. Fingers crossed, we'll be in the water by the end of the week.
Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and ring the little bell. Bottoms up! Thanks for watching.